What's up, everybody, and welcome to the return of Podcasting with Power. It's been almost a decade, not quite. We are a Nintendo podcast. I'm Zachary Davis. That's Jordan Carlson. Jordan, how's it feel to be back?
Oh, it feels pretty wild. Like you said, has it been 10 years? Because I feel like it's maybe been 10 years.
So I did actually look this up. So about a decade ago, Jordan and I and some other friends of ours started a little content creation outfit called Secret Stage Productions. And we launched our first episode in the beginning of June of 2015.
What?
So about a month, we've been doing this for, well, not been doing this, but we started doing this about 10 years ago.
Oh my God, dude. 10 years ago? It was.
And Podcasting with Power came a little later. That was, I think, February of 2016. We had a gaming podcast on the channel that we would both make appearances on. Neither of us led that discussion ever, but we would show up and we wanted to talk Nintendo. I don't think the other guys so much wanted to talk about Nintendo. And so we decided to spin ourselves off, do our own thing. And we knew big stuff was coming, right? This is the end of the Wii U. We know the NX is on the way. That's all we knew at that point. We're really banking on some good Nintendo stuff to talk about in the next year. And we got it. The Switch was awesome. And then we stopped. We stopped doing this shortly after the Switch came out. Just a hell of a time to stop doing a Nintendo podcast, right?
I can't believe that we stopped right after the Switch came out.
I know.
What a wild time for us to stop rolling with it, you know?
I think we kind of all outgrew what we were doing.
I don't know if it was outgrowing so much as it was just like we were on just high speed, so many podcasts. We had a lot of stuff going on at the time, like a lot of shows. One of our buddies formerly on one of the shows reminded me of the podcast him and our two buddies were on. Yeah, the name of that one the other day, and I laughed so hard I could.
Well, that about it, but I think I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we did that and we had fun with it, you know. But you and I linked up around the Switch 2 launch, which at this point has been almost a month? We're recording this a couple days before you guys hear it, but yeah, we're about a month after the Switch 2 launch. We linked up, started talking Nintendo. It felt like old times, and that's kind of when we started plotting to put this back together.
Yeah, I'm glad we did. I'm glad we're here. Yeah. It's been a long time.
This is way easier than I remember.
I think it's just we're both in the comfort of our own houses, and you're not driving like 2 cities over with your soundboard and 8 mics.
Soundboard upstairs to setting up microphones.
We'd be like, I'm here. He's like, he's here. Okay, come upstairs, plug it all in, and set up. And then like we go the whole hour or whatever, and then you're packing it up. Now it's just like, I mean, you text me like 25 minutes ago, and you're like, we doing this? And I was like, oh!
You don't have to yell at anybody to take their shoes off. We can just roll.
Man, yeah. Easy.
But I realize this intro is a little long-winded. We are not just going. So I'm gonna do a little housekeeping here. You're probably asking yourselves, it's a couple minutes into the first episode, how much cleaning is there to do? But we are a new show, and we need your guys' help to help us get this thing off the ground. So to make sure you don't miss anything we put out there, we'd love it if you'd follow us on the social platforms you see in the description. Might be below, above. You might have to click on something. Depends where you're watching this. And give us a follow on YouTube if you can. We always appreciate that. You can subscribe to Podcasting with Power on the podcast app of your choice. Leave us a review or a comment. And it might not seem like a lot, but it does go a long way, and we appreciate it. So that's kind of all the business stuff I have to get to, you know?
Okay. All right. So the standard issue stuff, this stuff.
Yeah.
But ultimately, we're just here because we love Nintendo and we want to talk about it.
Exactly. So let's get in to the things that have happened in the world of Nintendo this week. I've got 4 stories for you, Jordan.
Okay.
All right. Story number 1. Donkey Kong Bonanza developer has been revealed. This comes from Jim Norman at Nintendo Life. And I don't know. See, we got to figure out the format for this, right? I'm just going to read parts of the story and then we can talk about it. I think that makes sense. We're learning on the fly.
Okay.
All right. We assumed we were going to have to wait until launch day to find out the development team behind Donkey Kong Bonanza, but no. Nintendo has surprised us all by announcing it early. As revealed to Nintendo Life at a recent Bonanza hands-on event, we now know for sure that Nintendo EPD is behind this one, or more specifically, quote, the Super Mario Odyssey team.
Oh boy.
So I'm going to cut the story there. That's pretty cool, right? I think, and it's hard, right? Because we haven't been doing the podcast. So even though we've talked about stuff, we haven't done it in front of microphones. I think it seemed like the obvious play going into Switch 2 is they are going to launch with a 3D Mario. And they didn't do that.
No.
But they did announce this cool 3D Donkey Kong game that looks a lot like a 3D Mario. And now we know that's because it's from the same people.
Yes.
Did you play, how much Odyssey did you play?
I played the whole thing.
Yeah, exactly. It's a great game.
Yep.
I played it
Loved
a couple times since it came out.
Mm-hmm.
I think maybe we're on different temperatures on Donkey Kong Bonanza, right? I can't wait.
Yeah. So here's the thing. I'm excited. I am really excited. I think we alluded to this and we were both trying to like hold everything to our chest when we were talking about Donkey Kong last time.
Yeah.
But I went back and played all the Donkey Kong Country games.
Okay.
Because I love the old Donkey Kong Country games.
Sure.
And so I went back and played them. And then I started getting into Tropical Freeze, which, as you know from prior podcasts, I didn't really give it the time of day. And I am excited for Donkey Kong Bonanza. It's just that the first like couple things that I've seen about it, I was worried it was going to be kind of a collectathon. And, you know, because Nintendo is kind of trended in that way in some different areas.
Yeah.
So when I kind of saw like the first few glimpses, obviously it's gorgeous looking because like you said, you know, the Mario Odyssey folks, like we're expecting a beautiful game. It looks very cool, but I was just worried it was going to be centered kind of around the wrong things. And I went back and played Donkey Kong 64 a little bit. I didn't really get very far, but I just kind of wanted to like remember what that felt like. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like the
you want to
feel
talk
of the
about
game.
collectathon. That's collectathon the game.
Yeah. So like, because I remembered that, and so I went back and I was like, because I don't remember that being a collectathon. I remember, you know, like the whole world. I remember this isn't really going to be part of the game, but the multiplayer shooting peanuts at my sister's. Like, sure. I remember doing the whole thing and just having a really good time doing it. But now that they've showcased more, and I've seen like the environment, how that whole, you know, everything's destructible except for like those steel plates and things like, it looks like it's interesting. And I feel like there's probably more exciting and cool mechanics that maybe we haven't seen that they're kind of hiding, you know, like that we'll find out when we start playing it. So I'm more excited than I thought I was.
No, I'm totally with you. I think the moon system in Odyssey really worked, right? It's not like 64 where you're doing a task, you're getting thrown back out to the hub world. Like this is just you kind of moving from thing to thing. You see something that looks interesting, you knock it out, and boom, you got a moon. And I think that's going to kind of play out the same way here with the Bonandium gems. I'm going to have to get used to saying Bonandium. I think that's going to come up a lot. But so I think this is very cool. I mean, they're an excellent development team. What does this mean, do you think, for the next 3D Mario, though? How far away are we from that?
I don't know, because Paulina's in this. Pauline, yeah. Pauline, been a minute.
It has.
And as soon as I saw that, I was like, this is really strange. So, like, do we think this is... Well, obviously, this would be a prequel, right? Like,
so that's what's so weird, okay? I wasn't going to get into all the Donkey Kong timeline lore, but you brought it up, so this is on you. So it's been established over the years that the Donkey Kong from that original arcade game with, you know, that we've all played, that is the first Donkey Kong, who we know as Cranky Kong. The Donkey Kong that we play as in Donkey Kong Country and subsequent games, that is Donkey Kong the Third. Okay, Donkey Kong Jr. somewhere in there. He disappeared. We don't know what happened to him. He might be dead. I don't know. But Donkey Kong the Third is the DK we've known for a long time. Now, this is where things get weird, right? We've got this kid, Pauline, who maybe is just regular Pauline. She's been cursed. Something's happened. I don't know. It could be a new Pauline. But then you've got Cranky Kong in this preview footage being, you know, he's referencing Mario. He's referencing a bad guy in overalls. So what does that mean? Is this some weird time loop thing?
Like, is this where we get New Donk City? You know,
what was that?
Is this where we get New Donk City?
Maybe the end of this game is Mario trying to come take your little friend away.
Because it's like, is that why it's Donk?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like the street. Yeah, that's why. It's not. There's no other reason why it's New Donk City. No, if you look at the street names in Odyssey, like they are like Diddy Street and stuff.
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
Careful with that one.
Okay, let's rename that one. But yeah, I mean, so that's what gets weird. We don't know how this game's going to end. I feel like they could throw us a lot of curveballs. They could also just not care. We're both Zelda fans. Timelines and Nintendo don't always mix, and that could be what this is.
Yeah, they're just trying to make it work.
Just like, we want a character, a female character sidekick. She makes sense.
It does, but no, I'm excited about it, and it's gonna. I mean, because every time you see like the teaser footage on the gameplay and all that stuff, like, and then you get it, and you're like, oh my god, this is gorgeous, because you've been watching, videos through your computer screen on it. So I am really excited because it does look beautiful. So just having something fresh on the Switch 2 also is just going to be really nice. I've been playing just absolute hours of Mario Kart, so it'd be nice just to have something fresh, honestly. Yeah,
it looks like a game we can sink our teeth into.
Yeah.
From what I understand, there are demo kiosks around, at a Best Buy, at a Target, places like that. I have made a point not to go seek those out yet, because I just want to experience this one. Like, I know I want to play it. I'm going to be there day one, getting those Banandium gems.
Oh, man, dude, if I see a kiosk, I'm eating it up.
All right, well, if that happens between now and when that game comes out, you can talk about it here. I think there's probably only going to be one more episode before that game comes out. That's okay. Let's move on to story number 2. As Nintendo's ability to ban Switch 2 consoles from online services sparks headlines, Brazil's consumer rights watchdog issues legal challenge. This is from Tom Phillips at IGN. Nintendo's ability to ban Switch 2 consoles from accessing all online features has come under fire from Brazil's consumer rights watchdog, which has now launched a legal challenge. Brazilian authorities have argued that Nintendo's recently updated user agreement, which grants the company the ability to vastly limit any Switch 2 console's functionality, violates user rights to access services they have paid for. Procon SP, Sao Paulo's Office of Brazil's Public Consumer Protection and Defense Program, has now requested that Nintendo ditch this clause from its user agreement. In a statement, they've said that it had already lodged a complaint with Nintendo of America, and that the Mario Maker, it is the Mario Maker, but Mario Maker's a thing. I don't like that. Had appointed a legal team to look at the issue. So we've seen this kind of rise up around the Switch 2, and people were digging through the user agreement for some reason. That's how desperate people are for Nintendo information. They're going through, legalese, trying to figure out what this all means. And people have come to the conclusion that Nintendo at any time can just say, your console doesn't work anymore, you're done. In practice, it's not exactly that. You got to break some rules before that happens, right?
Yeah.
And it has to do with, flash carts and pirating games and things like that.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't know, this is interesting. We haven't really seen any government pushback to Nintendo's anti-piracy stuff this way before, right? I get it. They want to protect their IP, and I totally understand that. But it's a little scary if Nintendo can just decide, no, your Switch is done. We don't like what you did with it. How do you feel about that?
I think it's really interesting. I mean, but at the same time, it reminds me of like the 3DS. I feel like this threat has been out there before.
Yeah.
I think maybe I haven't done a lot of reading on this, but I think maybe it seems like it's more intense with the Switch 2. Like, it definitely seems like they have more ability to kind of guardrail you. But I feel like I'm not a stranger to this threat, though. You know what I mean? Like, we've heard this before, and in most cases, it would go away in like a couple months. You know what I mean? Yeah. But I'm not really sure. I mean, I don't really know how it works. Like, are you protected against updates, or is this like a...
So I think, myself included, the way I just presented it, I think is being a little hyperbolic. The console isn't bricked necessarily. It's not going to not function at all, right? but it is going to be barred from online services, updates, things like that. And when you think about it that way, it does kind of make sense. Like, the console exists so that they can sell you things from their store. If you go through and find some way to circumvent paying for things in their store, they're going to be mad. I do understand that. They don't want to support that. But yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see where we go from here and if they kind of loosen things up. I mean, we're talking about a company that doesn't issue refunds on digital games, which kind of the other players in the industry all kind of do to some degree at this point.
Yeah.
And Nintendo's just like, no, your game doesn't work. Too bad. You bought it.
I feel like this is all going to go away pretty quick. I mean, I feel like I read like week 2 that somebody already kind of got around everything. But I mean, again, who knows how long that will last?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
Well, good luck to whoever we're rooting for. I don't really know, right?
I don't know what side I'm on.
No, and I hate that. I hate not taking a side, right? But like I said, I can understand Nintendo wanting to protect its products, protect its IP. I also think people should be able to use the hardware they've purchased.
Like people, it's interesting. Like, I mean, I think of myself as somebody who really likes to see what I can make things do. And it's like fun. I don't always have the intent to steal things. It's just that like, it's interesting to me for what something is capable of. And especially like in the market right now, the Nintendo Switch against, the Rogue Ally, whatever you want to call it, the Legion Go and all these other things. And it's like the Steam Deck is the biggest one. I feel like that I keep seeing those like Steam Deck or Nintendo Switch 2 and people are trying to compare them. And, seeing what the Switch is capable, Switch 2 is capable of besides those two things, it's interesting. And people are interested in that. So it's like, there's a part of me that's like, let people do these things and then guardrail the piracy itself, if that's what you're concerned about. Like, you find a way to guardrail it that way. But like, I don't know, man. Now that I'm saying it, I don't really know. I don't know,
I don't know. I feel like everyone else has kind of figured out that if you make the games accessible, you regularly put them on sale, things like that, people will just end up buying them. Yeah. I see an old Star Wars game from the 90s on Steam for $3. Cool. There's no part of me that goes, I should pirate this. It's just like, okay, cool. I've got X-Wing now.
I don't want to play I don't want to play an emulated Switch game on a handheld. Truthfully, I just play it on my Switch. That's why the Switch exists. Like if I'm seeking a handheld thing like that, like if I'm wanting to play a Switch game, I'm going to play it on the Switch. Yeah. And I'm a fan of dabbling around. Don't get me wrong, but it's if I'm seeking a way to play it, I'm going to play it on the original hardware so that it's performing at its best. And I think there's a lot of arguments there. People are going to be like, well, if you emulate this or whatever, it'll run better because it's more powerful. And like maybe sure, like that's the case, but with all the new gen games, though, like I want to experience all the new stuff that's coming out. I want to jump through hoops to do it. Like, just regular. Give me the regular.
I'm with you.
I want Mike's way.
Right? Yeah. Oh, man. I like it Mike's way, dude. Story number 3. Metroid fans rejoice. New Switch icons are now available just for you. This is by Ollie Reynolds at Nintendo Life. Nintendo has added 2 batches of Switch Online icons from the Metroid series, specifically Super Metroid, right here, and Metroid Fusion. You'll need to boot up and play both games in order to unlock the icons. Super Metroid is part of the SNES app on Switch, and Metroid Fusion is part of the GBA app. The latter will require a membership to Nintendo Switch Online and the expansion pack, so make sure you're signed up if you're particularly keen on these. The Super Metroid icons include Samus herself, alongside iconic enemies like Ridley, Kraid, and the Metroid. Meanwhile, the Fusion icons include Samus in her lovely blue and yellow fusion suit, flanked by enemies like the X-Parasite and the Core X. This is a nice little treat for fans as we await more news on Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. It kind of goes on from there. I know that you are not always the biggest Metroid guy. I think you've dabbled a little bit here. So I don't know how much these Switch icons mean to you. I'm stoked. I, of course, went and got all of them immediately when I saw them. And I'm rocking one of the Super Metroid ones right now. How do you like these Switch Online icons that they put out they change them every week, every month, stuff like that?
Yeah.
Do you find yourself collecting a lot of those?
I don't think I find myself collecting them, but I appreciate them. Like, I'm glad that it exists, but it's not something that I like go out and seek myself. But I'm like happy that it's there. You know,
I grab so many of them, and I know I'll never use them. You know, I have the owl from like Link's Awakening.
Okay,
like he's just there. I'm not going to use that icon, but I have it.
Is the owl Capora Gabor, or is it a different owl?
In that game, I think he's just an owl.
Oh, it's just owl.
Yeah, like I think the connection, yeah, the Ocarina of Time stuff, yeah, but I don't know if he had a name prior to Ocarina of Time. But he's the same owl.
Yeah,
we know.
We all know. We all know.
What is your Nintendo Switch icon? What's that looking like these days?
It's Link.
It's Link. Okay.
It's always Link.
Quick answer. All right.
Mm-hmm. Link or Boo, if Boo is available.
Sure.
Boo's there at the time. You know.
Yeah. I jump around. I've used Tingle. I've used Slippy. I have a good N64 Slippy, the Toad.
You do use Slippy. That's right.
It's been a while since I had the Slippy icon on there, but yeah.
It's weird that I can't remember exactly which one mine is. I'm pretty positive it's Link. It's usually Link. Usually Twilight Princess Link.
I don't know the last time I saw it, but I think it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Story number 4. Oh, we talked a little bit about this off air the other day. Nintendo is raising the prices of some of its products in Canada, but oddly not the Switch 2. And what could that mean for other regions? This is on Tech Radar by Demi Williams. Nintendo has announced that it will be increasing the prices of some of its products in Canada. As reported by IGN, the company said that a, quote, pricing update will be implemented soon in Canada for certain Nintendo products, namely the original Switch, the Switch OLED, and the Switch Lite. Notably, the cost of the new Nintendo Switch 2, which launched early last month, will not be impacted and pricing will remain the same. It talks a little bit about physical and digital games, and NSO memberships. So at the time of this writing, we didn't know. We kind of talked like if the prices were going down, they would just say that, right?
Yeah.
And because they're not, it kind of sounds like they're going up. They did later clarify on Nintendo Canada's website some of the NSO price increases, and it looks like roughly each of them, it depends on the tier and the level and all that, but they're all going up about 10%. So, this is in Canadian dollars, but the individual membership for a year was $63.99. Now it's $69.99. Not a huge jump, but a jump.
Yeah.
I can understand the Nintendo Switch Online price increase. Have we ever seen a console price go up after the successor comes out?
I don't think so. No. I don't think one time ever.
Right.
I mean, no, not brand new. No, obviously things in value after the years go by, you see the value go up. But
yeah,
no,
sure.
Not really. No, this is kind of a wild. I think this is a wild situation. I mean, do we know the details? Like, are there bundles? Is it bundles?
We don't know the hardware price changes at this point. We just know the Switch Online stuff. Do you think this is a weird kind of roundabout way to drive people to Switch 2? Like, if you're looking at the two products and you're like, well, Switch 2 is, and I'm going to use US prices here, the Switch 2 is $500 and the Switch OLED was $350, but now it's $400. Like, so I might as well just get the Switch 2. Do you think that's maybe what they're trying to do?
I think it could be, because that would get me. I'd be like, well, I might as well just spend it.
Yeah, if you shrink that gap, people are just going to,
But I mean, like, I also don't understand how, like, there can be, I mean, in some circumstances I can understand, but like in this circumstance, it would be hard for me to justify buying a Switch versus a Switch 2 as somebody who likes to play games a lot. You know what I mean? So it's like, I would want the newer thing. But if I was trying to save a couple bucks though and get the old one, I'd be pretty pissed, honestly. It's like, it's wild that would be going up. I don't know. Yeah,
I mean, we never got a price decrease for any of the Switch products this generation.
Yeah.
It just didn't happen. And we're the other guys are doing the same thing. The PlayStation 5 hasn't had a price decrease. The Xbox Series X and S, same thing. I just bought a used Series X and it was still a lot. So, which is crazy. 5 years after that thing came out.
How much was it?
That was it was $295.
Oh.
Yeah. So yeah, and a lot of the ones I see on Marketplace, I kind of think they're going for more than that. But the point is, like, that still feels like a lot for a console that's 5 years old.
Yeah. No, you're not wrong.
And the Switch, the same thing. I still have my original Switch here. I have not gotten rid of it yet. I don't really know. Yeah. Oh, there you go. That Tears of the Kingdom OLED. That's nice.
Oh, had to have it. Yep.
Is it just going to live there, or do you?
It's now in. Yeah. It's now going to live there forever. It's in its little dust case.
Okay.
I was just talking to my sister about this earlier because she's hanging on to her OLED a little longer.
Okay.
And she asked me, she's like, "Do you trade your Switch in?" I was like, "Hell no, I didn't trade my Switch in." I was like, I'm keeping this thing. I even have the box up there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like if I've learned anything over the years, hang on to your consoles.
Yeah.
I don't want to lose that. There's something still magical about the original Switch, so like I don't want to lose that.
Yeah, I feel like I'm gonna hang on to this one. I don't really know why. Like they're so similar that I don't really feel like I'm losing anything by getting rid of the original one, but I don't want to.
Yeah, no, I don't either. And I mean, like, it's kind of cool though, because like if you have a partner and maybe they don't have a Switch or something, you can still play games together now. And now it's like you could play those games that are non-couch co-op together if you wanted to too. Absolutely. So it's like it's kind of cool to like keep for functionality. Who knows what's going to happen? I don't know.
Right. Well, Kali, my girlfriend, does have a Switch OLED, which is nicer than my Switch. So she's all set in that department. But
wait, you never got the OLED?
No, I never got the OLED. I got her an OLED, but I didn't get an OLED. I was like, you'll appreciate this.
Sacrifice. So romantic.
Mine was fine. The battery life was going by the end.
Yeah.
It never really.
Here's the OG, the original, day one.
The one that we got on launch day. Yeah.
Got miles on it.
Yeah.
I'll never forget that. We had friends at GameStop when the original Switch came out. And we were like, oh, the neon. Lock us in the neons.
Yeah. I gotta send those Joy-Con in because those don't work. But I got some green ones on it now. But yeah.
Wild times.
Well, all right. That's our Nintendo news for this week. It's been a slow week. It's a holiday week here in the US. So I get it. Hopefully we'll have some more cool things to talk about.
I mean, we got a lot happening in the next 2 weeks, right? Where's my mouse at? I haven't looked at the calendar. Let's see. Next Friday's a pretty cool day for Switch 2. Well, not for Switch 2. I mean, it's not exclusively for Switch 2, but there's a game I'm excited for that I think I might purchase on a Switch 2. I mean, I'm excited. I've been excited about this since when they announced this. Like, I don't know when they first did. Honestly, I heard about it maybe 3 months ago.
They did a little promotional thing on 3/4, right? So March 4th, I think, is when they officially announced it. Okay,
that tracks because I've known about it for about 3 months, so that was a month after the news probably broke, and I just didn't see. But I mean, like it's crazy though because today I was just kind of scrolling as you do, and I came across Tony Hawk had released like an ad for it that was like, I don't remember what he said, but he's like, "Have you got the shred?" And I was like, yeah, you saw that?
Yeah.
And I watched it because it was pretty funny, and I didn't even know that there were new courses or new levels. I didn't know that.
There's one they've showed off a lot, and I think there might be 3 total.
Yeah, a couple, definitely a couple. So like that's pretty sweet. There's even new modes, which I haven't looked into what they may be, but I don't really care. I think it's gonna be fun anyway. But there's new modes, new levels, and obviously it looks great. And 3 and 4 are my favorite, so like I'm stoked about it. I can't wait. It's gonna be
I think we've said it all in pieces, but we should let the people know we are talking about Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3+4, the remake in the same vein as 1+2 that came out in 2020. I was playing a lot of that around the time this got announced, and those games hold up anyway. But like that remake is excellent.
Yeah,
and if
it is.
Does more of that, then I'll be happy. So I never played 4 growing up. I think you did, right?
Oh yeah, so, a lot.
The I don't know what you want to call it, story campaign mode is different in that one compared to the other 3, and that kind of isn't being translated over. We're still going to get the 2-minute timers, kind of the way that 1, 2, and 3 are for the levels in 4. Does that bother you, or are you just excited to see it again?
I'm excited to see it again. But what you just said, I actually didn't know. But no, it doesn't bother me. Anyway, you're saying the timer will be there in 4?
Yeah, so it's not just like where you're open skating, finding NPCs, doing missions for them.
Okay.
Like this, it'll be like how the other ones are structured. It's like 2-minute timer, and I think a lot of the missions are similar, from what I understand. And they have like an unlimited timer mode or something like that, so you can kind of replicate it. It's just not.
That's fine.
You know.
I mean, that'll be interesting though, because I know I remember there being specific missions that would be difficult to do within that 2-minute time frame. So I think that could be fun. But I'm just, like you said, I'm just excited to see it again. I'm really curious about. I feel like what I'm saying is totally easy. Like it's easy to access online, but there's a part of me that's kind of avoided a little bit. Like I am really curious, and there's a couple things I will look up, but like there's stuff I'm also avoiding, which is probably subconsciously why I haven't looked it up. But like I'm interested. Like, is the soundtrack the same? You know, like are the movies the same? Probably not. I would assume maybe they're updated ones.
Yeah, I don't remember what the movie situation was for 1 and 2. It had them. They weren't the same, right?
I don't know. I never looked at those.
I feel like they were new.
Were they?
I think.
Were the skaters all new?
So there were a couple new skaters, but most of them were returning. And what was cool is that they modeled them after how they looked now, or at that time. You know,
that's cool.
So like Tony was a 50.
Tony was old, man.
Yeah,
Tony's getting there.
Yeah.
No, I like that. I like that. I mean, some of those guys. Actually, I don't know. Some of those guys I just haven't seen in a long time on anything. You know, like
Of
course, I'm not following as much as I used to, but like I'm thinking of like Bucky Lasek. I'm like, when was the last time I saw anything about Bucky Lasek? It's been a while. You know?
But no, I am very excited for that game. I have not made the decision of where I want to play it yet. It's a tough one, right? Because it will be on Game Pass. I have Game Pass. That's an easy, you know. But I think it'd be really cool to have it on Switch too. And I kind of want to see how it plays.
I do too, but I'm one of those suckers that I'm gonna buy it, but I also have Game Pass, so I'll probably be like, I'll play it on my computer and my Switch. Yeah, you know what I mean, it's stupid.
If it had cross progression, it'd be a no-brainer. I would absolutely buy it on Switch and play it on both. But not having that, I kind of go, oh well, if I want to get all the stuff, you know, I kind of want to just do it once.
Maybe the cheats will work. Dude, I think it was 4. It was like Watch Me Explode. It was Explode. Okay. I think was the GameCube cheat for like unlocking everything or something. I'm like, it'd be cool if that was part of the fun, I think, with those games. So I hope that some of that stuff kind of carries over. I'm pretty sure in the first and the second one it did. You know, just to like get on and do whatever you want. That was part of the fun of those games, you know? So like, yeah. Also like the secret characters. Remember you could get like, Boba Fett and I don't remember what they called him Boba Fett in the games or whatever, but there was all the fun.
I think Django was in one of them. The thing is, I don't know who's in what, right? Like I know like Darth Maul's in one of them. Yeah, Spider-Man's in one of them. Like
yes,
you know, I think Shrek might be in least one version of one of them.
Shrek's in one of these games. I didn't know that.
And the Doomslayer, he's going to be in this new one as like a pre-order deluxe edition.
What?
Bonus thing. Yeah, you get him and then like the Revenant skeleton guy from Doom.
What?
Yeah,
that's crazy cool. Okay, I
think I'm gonna have to at least on one of the platforms get that because I love Doom.
Yeah, I'm pumped. I'm excited. That'll be a fun little Friday treat next week. So
absolutely. Yeah. I think your nostalgia trip here, segues perfectly into what we want to talk about next. And that is normally, you know, we will do one kind of meatier topic of the show. I think because this is the first episode, we have a couple things we want to talk about. We're going to do that. But I want to start with you, Jordan Carlson. Where does your journey with Nintendo begin? I don't want to know about where it ends because we don't know that yet. But where does it begin for you? I mean, the people can see behind you if you're watching on video. The man likes Nintendo. He's got a lot of Nintendo stuff. I was going to ask you how many Nintendo consoles have in your home, but I don't know if you know. You have so many Game Boys alone, right?
Yes.
So yeah, kind of take us through where does little Jordan Carlson meet Nintendo?
It was our first. So it wasn't this one, but it is that Game Boy. So the original DMG. Yeah. My family had one for car rides. It was probably my oldest sister's, but playing it in the car. I remember the giant Game Boy foam case that had the big charger and like the screen, little magnifier and all that. Sure. And like we used to just, going up north every summer, I would play it in the car on the whole way, the whole way up, whole way back. And like, honestly, it never went past that. Except I don't remember when, because like you have those like weird gaps in your memory when you're a kid, but like that was the first piece, and then I remember playing the NES at length up at my grandma's up north, and then my grandparents also in Indiana, on the Swedish side of my family, they had an NES as well, so we would like go back and forth playing these games, and I liked it, but like my sisters would like, my eldest sister would always hide the Zelda cartridge and wouldn't let us play, and there was a lot of that. And then like, so time went by, I was very interested in it. And then the N64 came around and, so I kind of like grew with it, but I always felt like I was so behind. Like I was playing N64 when people were playing like PlayStation, like.
Sure.
Like, and I know that overlap is close, but it's like, maybe to make it more clear, we were still on the NES while people were on PlayStation. And then eventually we finally got our own N64. So like we were kind of behind, but N64 just blew my mind, and like that was the heat of the blockbuster nostalgia. Yeah. So, and then Zelda was always prominent. Zelda was the gold cartridge I wasn't allowed to play because my sister hid it, sure. And then I still remember my sister renting Ocarina of Time and bringing it home, and like I remember just being in my parents' room watching her play it. It was like just this magical thing, and finally, years down the line, my grandmother had bought me a lime green Game Boy Color, and that was my very own, like, it's all me, it's mine, like, thing. And it just took off, and like that was it for me, And I'm wondering if like I'm realizing in the conversation that psychologically I like Zelda so much because I wasn't allowed to have it for like so long. I mean, it's
this gold cartridge just beckoning you to come over, and it's forbidden. Yeah,
never let me play it. Always it. Sucked, but so I started really young, but I've always been into Nintendo, and I remember going to kindergarten and like I was obsessed with Mario 64, and I still remember one of the like kindergarten assistants telling me, like, we were filling out the days in the calendar, like just like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I was like telling my buddy, I was like, can't wait to go home and play Mario. And I remember the teacher saying to me, she's like, Mario can wait, and I was like, wow. And like I remember that so well. She was called Mrs. Smiles, which is crazy to me.
Okay, so we went to the same elementary school. I have no memory of Mrs. Smiles. I know I started a little later than you did there. Yeah.
This was kindergarten.
Mrs. Smiles. That sounds.
She was the worst. It was the joke was that she didn't do that. So like we were like, and now I'm looking back like, what were you hiding from? That's not your real name, But she used to yell at us, but no, we just Mario 64 was like the heat of kindergarten. That was actually, we were talking before the podcast, that strategy guide is what I used, so that's been with me forever. So it's just magical, dude. Like it was unreal, the 64. I think everybody has fond memories of Mario 64, no matter if you play games or not. It's always a game everybody remembers.
So I think we have different experiences in that you have older siblings. You are the youngest in your family, whereas I'm the oldest. So you had that stuff around, and you kind of already alluded to this. You feel like that really kind of shaped, like, these are the games I like because this is what was around, and that makes sense.
Now you.
Well, okay, so I did not have the same car ride experience. We had a Game Gear, and I don't know if you are aware of how many batteries that sucker used. You put 6 AA's in that thing. It would last about 45 minutes. It was not ideal for car rides. It was cool. It was bright. It looked, it was colorful. I played some of my first games on that thing. It was the first system that I had, but it was no Nintendo. I do have, kind of like you mentioned, I have a very early memory. The first video game memory I have is playing Yoshi's Island at a kiosk at Toys R Us. And I always thought that looked so cool. And even now, I mean, you go back to it and it's got this cool hand-drawn style that you you can't even really believe was on the Super Nintendo. And so I remember like chasing that feeling for a long time. Like I saw this cool thing. Again, I'm playing on my Game Gear. I'm playing, shitty versions of shitty Sonic games. So like I'm already, down and out. And then of course, I mean, this wouldn't be a podcast if I didn't mention that when I was 7, I got hit by a car.
Ah, yes.
That really, stay with me here. That changed the game because when I was in the hospital, they wheeled in a little cart. I played Mario Kart 64 with my mom, and that was it. From that point on, it's like, I need to have one of these things. This thing is sweet. And so when I, was finally out of the hospital, my dad went and found an N64 at like a garage sale, had a bunch of games, Mario 64, of course, Banjo-Kazooie, Yoshi's Story, Mario Kart, like all the staples. And I've been a Nintendo guy since then. And then I think right immediately following that was Pokemon. And so then I had to have a Game Boy Color, played the hell out of Pokemon Blue, and I've never stopped.
Do you ever feel like when you look back, because I don't know why I remember this, but I do. Like, I remember having my N64 and playing games like Zelda and Mario and Banjo-Kazooie and Tooie, Bomberman 64, just to name a couple. And then I go to my cousin's house. Why was it always the cousin who always had something like wildly different? I don't know why that is, but I remember going to my cousin's house and he had Metal Gear and he was playing it on the PlayStation.
Oh, very cool.
And I remember to this day, he thought it was so sick that you could like go up to the urinal and pee.
You can't do that in Mario 64.
You can't do that in Mario 64, I'll tell you that. But like the thing though is I remember looking at this game, not that part of it, but like I remember seeing him play this game and being like, they don't look like real people to me. Like I remember being like sure. Lara Croft. I remember looking at it and being like, this is messy, like I at the time it wasn't though, because like there are people when you think back to, I think nostalgia is sometimes a blinder. Like you'll look back and you're like, I remember how crazy immersive this game was, and I think I'm obviously the 64 was no different, right? Like we know that, but like I'm just saying at that time I remember thinking it was clunky, but like it was the cartoony like atmosphere that Nintendo would provide versus the real atmosphere that PlayStation was trying to provide. And that's I think why I gravitated towards the Nintendo.
It ages better, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially like the 8-bit stuff, 16-bit, whatever, 32-bit, whatever we're talking about. But like that stuff, it did age better. Super Nintendo, great. Still great.
Absolutely. Yeah. Those are some of the best
still go back.
games ever made. Still.
But like I go back and play Tomb Raider and I gotta like I'm like arms, I look like Steve from Minecraft running through the cave, like it is. Oh, the controls. Don't even get me started. Like, so, but like seeing those two things, I think that's why I gravitated towards Nintendo, because it was already established as this fake reality. It wasn't trying to be real. So like everything made sense the way it looked, where when I looked through the PlayStation lens, I was like, no way, dude. And like, you remember the 90s, you had Crash and Mario, and it was like, they hated each other, which was super fun. But like,
outside.
Yeah. I remember that commercial so well. I also remember the milk commercial for Mario 64, or maybe it was just, it was Mario 64, where he's like, he comes out of the TV and he skateboards through the house and then like hits the fridge and then drinks the milk, turns into Big Mario. And it looked really cool. And I was like, why do the games look like this? But anyway, I think that's why I gravitated that way.
Yeah, I just played both Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask like back to back over the past couple months. And they honestly both still look pretty good. And it might be that I have nostalgia with them. I had Majora's Mask. We didn't have Ocarina of Time back then. But they're, visually pretty similar. And yeah, they still look great. And I don't have that nostalgia with, like, Metal Gear Solid is, I can say, one of the best games of all time. Like, it really is. But I played it as an adult, So I don't have the nostalgia for it. It's not a comfort game the way the N64 Zeldas or Marios are.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. Absolutely.
So
but I mean, go ahead.
Oh, well, I was just going to, from there, kind of go after the N64. Then we kind of reached the era that we were just talking about with we'll say
GameCube. GameCube is
power,
big.
But the PS2 and the Xbox were around, and Tony Hawk those games are looking better than before, and you're getting a lot of first-person shooters now. Like, where do you go from there?
From GameCube?
Yeah, like I know you were a big GameCube guy.
I was just talking about this today, so it's fresh in my mind. One of my coworkers was like, I was talking about Donkey Konga. Actually, you and I were just talking about Donkey Konga. And Double Dash came up because we were talking about Mario Kart, what's the best Mario Kart, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And like Double Dash to me will always be like the top Mario Kart. I don't know why. Okay. I think it's the nostalgia lens, honestly. But like you hear that music, like I hear that game, I can hear the song right now. And it's like as soon as that title screen comes up, like it's just such a good feeling. I just love how that makes me feel. And then the game was just so fun. Like I remember playing with one of our buddies growing up and just loving it. And I think that when you talk about like hits on consoles, the GameCube by far has the most. Like it is, at least in my opinion. I guess that's an opinionated thing, but I feel like it's a popular one though. I feel like it's a popular feeling.
This will absolutely be a topic at some point. Like, what is the heaviest hitting Nintendo platform? But GameCube's got to be up there. And like, I'm so excited that they're bringing those classics to Switch 2 with NSO. We just, as of recording this last night, they put Mario Strikers on there. Mm-hmm. I haven't touched that game in years. I'm stoked.
Yes.
I've been loving playing F-Zero and why can't the other ones escape me? Oh, Soul Calibur. Yeah.
Personally, the first couple of waves, like Strikers, pumped. Obviously, Wind Waker, pumped.
Yeah, I had gripes there. I'm gonna make a point to play it, but
yeah, I'm honestly holding out until I want to know. But anyway, I want to know about HD. But anyway, but no, the GameCube library is just tremendous. So I mean, we don't have to dive too deep into that whole thing, but it's just I was huge into that. That was like the biggest era for Nintendo for me. Outside of the Game Boy. The Game Boy was also huge for me, but the GameCube era was just wild. And that was like core memory time too. I mean, like, that's when you and I met with GameCube time.
Yeah.
Yep. So that's like core memory time. That's core childhood for me. So many great games, summertime, just fun with friends. Like that's just peak memories for me. So it's like, it's a little inflated, I think. Okay. Maybe in an unfair way because of how nostalgic it is to me, but there's just no denying like how good the selection was at that time and just how many heavy hitters we had.
I don't know. I've gone back a couple times to different things over the past couple of years, and like Metroid Prime 2 was when I played, late last year, and that game is excellent. I was thinking in my head like Metroid Prime is far and away the best of those three games. 2 is almost just as good, if not better, in some ways, and I played that on a Wii. I didn't, that wasn't the remastered thing on Switch like the first one was. This is just, I am playing the OG Metroid Prime 2, and it's awesome.
I never got into Metroid Prime, but I remember watching people play it quite a bit. Yeah. And it's something that I know that I would like to do. So I feel like that's something I need to dive into.
I think the Prime games in particular would really scratch that Zelda itch for you.
Okay.
I know that some of the 2D Metroid games might not do that, but specifically Prime 1 and 2, I think are going to have some Zelda feels for you.
Okay.
But because I feel the same way. I look back as the GameCube being my Nintendo era. And you mentioned, still being into the Game Boy. I feel like that is kind of where I let the Game Boy kind of go. I wasn't I had a Game Boy Advance, but I wasn't playing a ton of stuff on there. At that point, like with Ruby and Sapphire, I was kind of over Pokemon. I would come back to it later, but I was out of that. Do you feel like there was a time where maybe your Nintendo fandom kind of lapsed? Like, not that you were over the old stuff, but just you weren't jiving with what they were doing at the time.
I think that was probably... I think Wii U era, I was less really involved with everything they were doing. That was like, that was a time that we were obviously seeing quite a bit of each other. I didn't really care. Or no, you know what? Actually, no, I take that back. The Wii. That was when I was most disconnected. The Wii U, because like thinking back, I was about to say, and then I'm realizing as I'm talking, like, no, I played a lot of Wii U games.
I think we really tried to make.
We did. We tried to like the Wii U, and I was gonna say like I played the Mario games on the Wii U.
Yeah.
I played both Zeldas on the Wii U. I got into a lot of indies more than I ever have. So like thinking back, I'm like maybe I was pretty connected. The Wii though,
we were playing Mario Maker. We had plenty of stuff on the Wii U.
Yeah,
but you're right. I do kind of remember the Wii era, and I know you weren't the biggest fan, and I even the second half of the Wii I was kind of done.
Yeah. Well, it was weird. Like like Mario Kart. That was the only era of Mario Kart that I had never been a part of. Even still,
though, so that's okay.
Yeah. Why don't do tilt controls? What are we doing? One of my
least favorite, tilt controls are fine. It's just it's an unbalanced nightmare. It's people are throwing shells left. It's too crazy. I don't.
Like that's my only. I remember being at one of our friends' houses. We used to hang out at quite a bit, and we were playing Mario Kart. And I remember being like, that was the most uninterested I've ever been in Mario Kart. Was at that time, which is wild because I love Mario Kart. But yeah, I was unplugged, man. Like just I wasn't interested. Skyward Sword, I think, was the only title on the Wii that I was really plugged into. I'm trying to think. Yeah, I feel like that was the only title.
Very, very end. So yeah, I can see how that wasn't. Yeah, but you were the first person I knew that had a 3DS. So this is pre-price drop, pre-ambassador program.
Ooh, I had that.
You got that teal 3DS.
Yeah.
And did you get it at launch, or did you get it a couple months later when Ocarina came out?
I got it when Ocarina came out.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
I got it, I think, that fall after the price drop, after Mario, after all that stuff.
I'm pretty positive it was when Ocarina came out. I may have locked it in day one for Ocarina, but I don't remember. But I distinctly remember. I distinctly remember having the day off when Ocarina came out and playing it all day that day with like some of our older friends. I remember at the time. I remember playing it all day at their house, just plugging away, which was awesome. I liked it a lot. It was, looking back on it though, it's like, man, that thing was small, you know.
It was, and I loved the DS era. I was buying so many DS games, and for some reason, even though I know in almost every way the 3DS is better, I don't look back at the 3DS as fondly as I do the original DS, and I don't know why. A lot of those games are great. Some are bad. I'm the only person I know that feels this way. I think A Link Between Worlds is one of the worst mainline Zelda games. I know that's not a popular opinion, and I don't know that that's the 3DS's fault. I just don't care for it. I also never played Triforce Heroes, so that's probably worse, but that's who's to say.
Triforce Heroes was tough for me, but I played it a little bit.
But I loved the original DS. I thought that was so inventive at the time. It was.
You talking Big Chonk?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Big Chonk.
Yeah, and like that. So that launched with Mario 64 DS, and that was the one for me where I'm like, this is amazing to play on a handheld. You know, because at this point I'm thinking about the Game Boy Advance, and more of my experience had been the Game Boy Color, and so I'm like, now I'm playing Mario 64 on this thing, and that was kind of the revolution for me, where like this thing can do 3D games.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you know, the PSP was doing that, but that was different.
You know, like something I'm like thinking about while we're talking about this that I think is really interesting is, so with the Game Boy, I went from Game Boy Color to Game Boy SP. I never got the Advanced.
Okay.
So I like clung onto my Color for like too long, but my sister had the Advanced, and like I didn't make that choice, but like you know the SP is a vertical. We're back to being vertical again.
Yeah. And
I've always preferred vertical handhelds, and I wonder like if that's part. I like feel like I'm like diagnosing myself right now, but like
because I had the OG Advance and not the SP.
Oh. See, and I'm tying this into, we're talking about the 3DS. I was not interested in the 3DS until Ocarina, to be honest. I played them down the line now, but like I didn't play them as they came out. I was a late arrival to the DS situation.
Yeah.
Which I'm trying to remember like when that took place. When was the DS? Like what console were we?
DS was like,
I know the 3DS, but the DS.
The DS was like the end of the GameCube, because it was like 2004 when it came out, and then the 3DS came out in 2011.
That's right. Okay, so the DS, I was still just hammering out GameCube, I think.
Yeah.
I think is what was happening.
Sure.
Yeah.
And then I think that kind of takes us right into the Switch, right?
Yeah.
I feel, we were stoked. I remember watching that first trailer and then the reveal event, and they kind of shut off the games when they announced that Breath of the Wild was coming to it and it would be a launch title. Like, that was something else, right?
Dude, that was like the longest period of my life, I feel like.
Yeah.
Honestly, like our stoke level was so dangerously high for so long. It felt like I would spend entire evenings sitting at Second and Charles on my laptop, just like reading anything I could find about the Switch. I was we were both obsessed trying to figure out. And then, I remember watching that trailer. And like I mentioned earlier, we had our friends at GameStop. We were like, lock it in. We need it. And then we made a whole event out of launch day,
Yeah.
Gosh, man, that was awesome. Sleeping with like a freight box full of Nintendo Switch stuff.
We'll do our post-mortem Switch discussion as we get a little further away from it. But it seems like the best spot to kind of transition to the other topic I wanted to touch on today. And that was, how has the first month with your Switch 2 treated you?
Pretty good, I gotta say. I'll work up to it. I don't want to get right into the dirty cons, but but no, I've really enjoyed it. I think that I needed something to like kind of stir it back up again, because like I honestly had put my Switch down for quite some time before the Switch 2. Same. I was playing non-Nintendo for quite a while. Because it felt like a waiting period again, where I was like, I've played just hundreds of hours of these Switch games. I'm ready for something different. And the Switch 2, finally we had something new and different. We knew about Mario Kart World, we knew about Donkey Kong, obviously. But finally getting it was really great. I felt like I was wanting to revisit titles that I had already played on my Switch just to see how they performed. And because I was doing that, now I'm going back and playing games that I thought I wasn't really interested in playing again,
Yeah, that's
so like
exact experience. That's crazy.
Yeah, that's your experience too?
Yeah, I just beat Pokemon Legends Arceus, which is, when that came out, I was like, oh, that's neat. I've always wanted an open world Pokemon game, and I just never really touched it. I checked it out from the library earlier this year. Still thought it was, it was cool. And then after we got this, and I heard, hey, it runs really smoothly on that, I was like, okay, I'll check it out again. Finish the game, and it's excellent.
I love that game, but we can talk about that another time.
Sure.
So I played more handheld than I ever have.
Me too.
You too? You were a big handheld guy, though. Like, that was like your jam for a while.
It really, I don't feel like it was. Maybe at a certain point in time, but at what, if I had the option to play on the TV, I would. With a couple of exceptions. If I'm playing Picross, which I love, then that's a handheld thing. I'm not playing Picross on the TV. But generally, and especially like 3D games, I was not playing handheld. And now I found myself doing that with, like I said, Pokemon and Bowser's Fury that was packed in with Mario 3D World. Like, that was one that I've played since it came to Switch 2. The Switch 2 upgrade looks great. I'm playing a lot of handheld. Playing a couple Game Boy games, the Zelda Oracle games. Yeah, like, I'm loving that thing.
I know. I think it has everything to do with just how comfortable it feels in your hands. I think that's huge, because for me to play the original Switch handheld, I did it for a long time with just the regular setup, and then I end up getting one of those like bigger, you slide it in. There's a name for it. It slipped my mind, but so I played in that, but I was never like a handheld guy. I was trying to be. And then the new one right out of the box just feels really good. So like, I don't feel like I need a grip. Like, I know they're out there, but I don't need it. Like, I like, and I know you know this, like, I don't like phone cases and stuff. Like, I don't like putting cases on my things, which is usually bad. And the Switch didn't feel like I needed it, which I love. It's just naked. It's slim. It's sleek. It feels good. You can see it. I love that. So like, I've really enjoyed playing it handheld more than I ever have. Which brings me to my next thing that I started noticing is just the battery life's the only thing I really have run into.
It's not great, right?
Yeah.
And what I don't know, I know there's some things with maybe the way it monitors that battery life is there's maybe some bug that shows the percentage the wrong way. I don't know if that's been your experience, but like I haven't done, the internet has all these different fixes for it and stuff, but I haven't done any of that. I find that I run out pretty quickly. Like 2 hours is kind of the max.
Well, dude, it's nuts that like you could play it docked and you'll take it off the dock and you're like, I'm at 96%.
Well, I do have the setting on where it charges it up to 90, to kind of helps the battery life long term, but it never hits that. It's always at like 80.
Okay.
Which whatever, but
I don't know if it's like some strange just quirk, but like when I see it's not fully charged, I'm like, God, what are we doing?
There's something about that, yeah.
It drives me nuts. But I think honestly the battery's been the only thing that has bothered me. Everything else has been really, really good. So now it's just about the library. I think that launch title wise, I understand we had a couple of things, but it's funny that like when you watch, I mean, I have YouTubers that I really enjoy, and when you watch people's videos and coverage, they're like, "What's System Tour? What's that thing called?"
Welcome Tour.
Yeah. Welcome Tour. People are like, "It's a game. It's a game. It's fun. It's quirky," which I do love that it is quirky. Yeah. But I'm like, we really were kind of we were a little dry.
I'm sure that thing is neat. The PlayStation 5 had a similar piece of software, Astro's Playroom. That was free, and that was awesome. I got the platinum in it. It didn't take very long, but it was cool. But yeah, it was not $10 like this thing was.
Yeah.
And so, I do look at it every time I open the eShop. I'm like, I could just buy that, knock it out right now.
It's because you're desperate.
Know that some of the challenges require different accessories, so I'm like, I'm gonna have to like get a camera hooked up to this thing. I don't have that, and so yeah.
But it's just I mean, like Mario Kart, there's a lot to do. I've played extensively online, and I won't get too deep into Mario Kart, but like I've played extensively online. I've played all the cups. Like I've played what there is to play. I feel like that's available to me, and I've gotten everything. Like outfits, I grinded those. So like I basically getting to the point. I feel like I've kind of exhausted the game that was available that I'm interested in. So I'm kind of at a spot right now where I'm like, all right, I'm ready for Donkey Kong. I'm ready for the next thing to see what else is capable of.
Yeah, I mean that's a really good point. I didn't even really think to discuss this today, but the launch lineup, I don't know how I feel about it because I have a hard time saying it was bad, right?
Yeah.
But Mario Kart obviously does the heavy lifting.
Yeah.
But I think because we got so many enhancements for some of the better Switch games, including Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, like we got those. There are some third-party things in there which like it's not the place I want to play Cyberpunk, so I'm not doing that there.
Yeah, right.
Even though I haven't played Cyberpunk and I've thought about it, like, and I still could at the point.
You haven't played it at all?
I haven't, and that's kind of why I think I should play it here because I have no other experience with it. But I haven't done that yet. I'm interested in Fast Fusion, which is like a F-Zero inspired thing, and they also had a launch title on the Switch with Fast RMX, which was awesome, and Fast Racing Neo on the Wii U before that. So I'll probably pick that up at some point. But then you kind of look and you're like, okay, Street Fighter 6, that I played that last year, 2 years ago. I don't know when that came out. Yeah. I know there's one I'm missing. Sonic Shadow Generations. I played that. That was cool. I don't need to buy another Switch 2 edition of it though. Yakuza. Like, I don't know. Like there's stuff there. Split Fiction, which was awesome. But we played that on Xbox when it came out, right? So yeah, it's just not quite. Where it wasn't. To be.
No, and I mean, like, to be fair, because I have a feeling like there's arguments to be made about past launch lineups too. But but like when you launch with a Zelda game, it's not the same. It's there. You're gonna sink 250, 350 hours of my time into that game. So that's a much stronger launch title. Like Breath of the Wild with the original Switch was great. It was perfect. I had
perfect
no complaints. Yeah. And that wasn't even the only thing. Like there were still other small things, like dumb things, like Snake Pass. You know what I mean? Like there were other
We were
things to
playing
like
One Two
entertain.
Switch.
1-2 Switch honestly was, I liked it. I don't care what anybody says. Like, that was fun. Like, there was other stuff to dabble with, and again, I know we mentioned the welcome tour and all that stuff, but it's just not the same, you know.
I want to say I think you did me dirty on 1-2 Switch, because I remember going there and paying the consoles off, and you were like, "What are you getting?" I was like, "I'm getting, just this and Zelda," and then you're like, "You're not gonna get 1-2 Switch," and I was like, "Nah, come on, man. Like it looks fun," and I'm like, "But you're not buying it." Like I
Did buy it.
You did eventually, but I just remember being like, like Jordan really wants me to buy 1-2 Switch. And then I did, and it was fine. It was
cool.
the ice cream there, and that was kind of it.
You didn't feel the balls?
I did. I felt the balls, and
dude, it was great.
The first time,
like, I love that, dude. It was crazy. Like, and then I like, you play the shootout game, and you're like. I don't know. It was so funny. Like, that is a funny Nintendo game. Like, the welcome tour, okay, but like 1-2 Switch was just so goofy and just weird. Like, it reminded me of like WarioWare, like hold the baby, and you're like, I don't know. Like, that was fun. I like that.
But I think and it's not Nintendo or any third party's fault that we have played a lot of these games before, right? They haven't been available, for the most part, they haven't been available on the original Switch, so it's nice to have the Cyberpunks there. If that's your only platform, and now you suddenly have access to Cyberpunk and Street Fighter, and that's really cool, right?
Yeah, now you can play it. Yeah, but, especially with the mouse capability situation. Yeah. Like, it's cool.
But I think I'm way more excited for what's to come. I think it's weird that we don't have a lot of third-party announcements for Switch 2. And again, I think that is a topic we'll discuss. Like, I was hoping that you would start hearing updates like right away. Like, we're bringing the last 5 Assassin's Creed games to Switch 2, or, the ones that are there we're updating to take advantage of the Switch 2. And we haven't seen a whole lot of that. Like, No Man's Sky got that update on day 1, and there haven't been a whole lot of other ones since then. Yeah. Which is a bummer.
Yeah, no, it is. I thought the floodgates were gonna open, but it was underwhelming how much information came out. It seemed like they blew their whole wad kind of right away with what was happening, and it wasn't so. It was like so. I don't want to say so little, but it was like not. It didn't seem like a lot, so we're like, there's got to be more. There's going to be more, and then it didn't feel like there was.
It sounds like Nintendo was very stingy about who it was giving development kits to pre-launch. Yeah. And so maybe now that, there's no secrets to keep, maybe they'll be a little bit better about that. But yeah, like, how long is that going to take before we're getting, because I would love to see a Switch 2 update for Tony Hawk 1 and 2, because those games do not run super well on the Switch 1. And I'm hoping, 3 and 4 does. And I hope they can go back and update that too. Mm-hmm. But yeah, looking ahead, you've got, and these are just kind of off the top of my head, we've got Donkey Kong, like we talked about. We've got another Pokemon Legends, which is why I played this last one. We've got that coming in October. We know Metroid Prime is on the way, Metroid Prime 4. We're getting Switch 2, like, new content, new additions for Mario Party Jamboree and Kirby and the Forgotten Land, which is, did you ever play that?
I did.
That was cool.
It was cool. It was way cooler than I thought it was, too.
As I thought I would, but I really did.
Yeah.
So we've got those. We've got Kirby Air Riders, which a sequel I never would have thought was happening, but here we are. We've got another Hyrule Warriors game, which I keep forgetting is happening. Age of Imprisonment, I think, is the subtitle. I should know that, but and I don't know. I don't know if I'm missing any other first party stuff, but like, you look at that, and that's maybe not Dragon Drive. That's the wheelchair basketball.
Oh yeah,
not Dragon Drive.
Right. Oh my god.
So we've got that.
That was before
I might try
when
that.
I saw that whole presentation. Yeah, that's before we reconnected, and I thought of you immediately. I was like, dude, I know that he is thinking the same thing as me right now.
Yeah, dude, I'm excited for that. I think it's gonna be fun. doing the thing. I think that's going to be cool, and I'm going to be there day one. $20, that's nothing, you know.
I mean, I'm gonna try it because I have to.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, I'll tell you what, looks better than ARMS.
Okay, I see. I knew this was going to come up. ARMS is a great game that maybe wrong place, wrong time, but ARMS is a great game.
Well, do you think?
It is. They got a Switch 2 update. You should try it out again. But yeah, I think and again, a lot of I feel like we're teasing a lot of future topics, but like we'll compare this first year to the Switch's first year. And I don't know if it'll stand up, nearly as strong, but then you've got to consider that all of the Switch's first year and all of the other years worth of games are on Switch 2.
Yeah.
Yep. There's, like you said, there's a lot to do here.
Yeah, there's a lot to do. We've got access to our whole libraries. We've got some pretty big games coming. Like, it's going to be good. It's just, it just didn't happen. I'm not saying I need all the major titles to be released right away, but it's just happening a little bit more sporadic. So we'll just kind of see. And I mean, like, you never know what we're going to get, announced through the next coming months. We might see some pretty big surprises. I'm hoping for a few. So I don't know.
Yeah. But no, I think it's in a good place. I'm happy with what the hardware is for the most part. You know what I tried 2 nights ago? I tried, the little Joy-Con grip, which I very rarely used on the...
Oh, yeah.
One. So the Switch 2 has one that has the magnet, thing. And so my Pro Controller was dead. I haven't charged it since I got it. So I was like, okay, that's fair. So I plug it in and I grab this little grip. And I'm like, I'm going to try this stupid thing. It's just been sitting on the shelf since I got it. I'll try it out. Latch, put the Joy-Con on there. I hate that thing. It's
Do you really?
so uncomfortable. It's so small. Like, it's just you're so compressed.
I haven't used it. It's in that drawer over there. It's been in that drawer since we came home the night we got them.
Yeah.
It hasn't come out.
Don't let it out.
Don't do it.
No, don't do it.
I didn't mind the old one if I had to.
I never used it very much. Like I generally would just use the Joy-Con separately if I had to use 2 Joy-Con instead of a Pro controller.
That was the weirdest thing. Like, just like you sit on you could like be laying in bed like this.
Yeah.
It's the weirdest thing.
I think as a Wii kid, I'm just fine with that. But yeah, I can see how it's a little odd. But yeah.
But I mean, I'd like to try it because that's like you got to know what it feels like, because I feel like that's like the like I have 3 Pro controllers, but in the event that I have a 4th person, someone's got to use it. You know what I mean? And I usually like to be the courteous host, and I will take the fall and use the worst controller. So I feel like I should probably give it a rev.
No, I will say, not a fan of the Joy-Con 2 grip. The Joy-Con 1 grip was not ideal, but was fine. Joy-Con 2 grip sucks.
Did you grab the new Pro controller?
I did. I know we talked about how I was not going to do that, and then that next day I went to Costco and I got one.
Dude, I know. The next day I went to another GameStop, and they were like, "Are you here for the Switch 2?" I was like, "I just want the controller. I'm here for the controller." And before I say what I think, what did you think?
I like it. It has... So before we got our hands on it, I kept hearing it described as silky, and I was like, what does that mean? Because it's a plastic thing. It's not soft. Yeah. And so as soon as I touched it, I was like, I get it. And I still don't know how else to describe it, but it does have a silky feel to it.
It does.
I'm always very conscious of if I like eat something then even if it was like a long time before I've come to play the Switch 2, I feel like I've got to go wash my hands first. Like it could be hours later and I'm like, what did I have Doritos? Like what,
That's good housekeeping.
I don't want to ruin it.
No.
Functionality wise, I think it's largely the same. And that is until when the controller was out the other day, I plugged that in. I went and grabbed my Switch 1 Pro controller. I was like, okay, I'll do this. It was also dead, so I didn't use that, which is what led me down the stupid Joy-Con grip thing. But picking it up, I was like, oh, this is very different. It's a little wider. It's a lot heavier. Like, it's a very different feel. And yeah, I think I'm very happy with the Switch 2 Pro controller. I have not made a lot of use of the paddles on the back. They're not really paddles. They're just buttons.
Yeah, the buttons. I haven't used those
Yeah,
either.
they're not paddles away like a Xbox, Elite controller is. But yeah, so I don't know if you're using those. What are your thoughts?
I've never used that type of. So I had the Xbox Elite controller, which is the only other time I can think of a controller that I had that kind of thing.
Okay.
And I've never used them. I've never used buttons like that, which is like weird because like I like mice that have macro buttons and stuff.
Sure.
But to me, it just feels different in that regard. But like the controller, it's such a weird like I don't know what I would do with them. I mean, maybe. Because it's funny that we're talking about this because like I've been wondering like what I could do. I want to use them. I just don't know what for.
Yeah, I mean, the thing when I was like playing Mario Kart, I was like trying to think, I'm like, what would I use? And that's not a great example of a game to use them on, right? But I was like, what could I use this for? And I'm like, well, maybe I could map one of them to like be the button that looks behind you so that I'm not off the gas, like to do, you know what I mean? Like I could do that. And I don't know, but I haven't actually done it.
I know, because I think I'd map it and then forget that I did.
Yeah. It's nice that you can do it per game. It's, I think that's really cool. I think you can remap the C button, the chat button. We haven't talked about that. Have you used the game chat feature at all?
No.
We're going to have to do that. Maybe make some content out of it because I have not touched it yet either. I haven't even tried to plug a camera into my Switch.
I haven't either. I want to do cam on Mario Kart really bad.
Okay. I know this camera is not a USB-C. I know it needs to be a USB-C, so I'll have to figure something out. But
yes, I know. I'll just unplug mine. Mine is, so it'll work.
Okay, cool.
But I might even do it tonight. I don't know. Every night I feel like I think about it, and I'm like, I'll do it, and then I don't.
Yeah, same.
Well,
but yeah, I think overall I'm happy with the Switch 2. It's this weird double-edged sword where like I think it's awesome. I think it's a necessary upgrade for the Switch, but at the same time, it really isn't that different.
Yeah.
I'm not blown away by it like I was with the original Switch.
Yeah, it's just so familiar,
Yeah. But I think in the way that I eventually kind of stopped being blown away by the Switch, I feel like I'll be impressed with this longer.
I think so too. I mean, I like it more than I thought I did. So like end all be all, like end of the day, I'm definitely more impressed. I just wanted it because it was Nintendo's new thing, and I feel like I always have to be a part of it. And I was pleasantly surprised, so I feel good about it. I like it.
Yeah. Well, we do have to be a part of it. So much so that we started a podcast again. How do you feel?
Feel good, man.
We've done another one. The first one in a long time. Have you done any podcast appearances since we did that?
No. Nope.
I've done very few, and certainly none recently.
I've talked to a couple of the folks that that we were kind of involved with back in the day, but I have not been on anything. I'm still in like media creation. I'll still do stuff on my own here and there, but it's really just kind of for fun. But yeah, I haven't really done anything. So I know I will be a lot more now. So I'm excited about that. It's good.
Yeah, it's fun being on this side of it. I'm excited.
Yeah, me too.
So yeah, we appreciate anyone out there. There's got to be someone out there that has listened through this episode and has made it to the end. Hit that subscribe button wherever you are, whatever podcast app or YouTube or, wherever else. Follow us on our socials. Those will be in the description. And yeah, we hope to see you next time. We want to do this weekly. I think that's been the intent from us. We'll see how that goes. And if that changes, we'll obviously communicate that. But yeah, I think that's the way we're going to do it. So yeah, thanks for hanging out. This has been Podcasting with Power. I'm Zachary Davis. That's Jordan Carlson. Take it easy.